really what he's saying? Yeah. Yeah, as strange as that sounds to us, it is. But he goes on to explain it. Because he says that these troubles, these trials that we go through, these tribulations make us stronger. They make us better. You know, most of us are familiar with gold. How is gold made to be so precious and so useful? By being put through the fire. This weekend, I looked at some jewelry that my brother Woodrow made. His hobby is working with rocks and stones. And he'll take just an old rock and he'll work it through a tumbler that it'll just work through and just tumble around, being sanded and being worn till it comes out something smooth and precious that he surrounds with either gold or silver or some other object. It makes a beautiful piece of jewelry. And sometimes we are much like that. There was a song back, I looked it up this morning, and it was on the charts in 1974. Had a great run. It was on the charts in June and July of 1974. Really made it for a long time. The song was entitled, "Making the Best of a Bad Situation." Now really, that is a title that should be around for a long time. Because you know, most of us in life, we're put in some bad situations. We have some times in our life, and sometimes maybe it's longer times than we want them to be. And we have some times that sometimes life just gets pretty rough. Life gets tough. I remember, was it little Jimmy Dickens that used to say, life gets teaches, don't it? You know, some of you don't think I'm that old, do you? I am. You know, but sometimes life gets rough, and sometimes we have to learn to make the best of a bad situation. Now, there's a couple of ways to make the best of a bad situation. One is to learn to live with it. And some bad situations, unfortunately, you do have to learn to live with it. But some bad situations, you can learn to get out of. Let's look at Mark chapter 10. Mark chapter 10. Now when we look at this, we're going to think that this guy is in a bad situation that he's got to learn to live with. Okay? We're going to think, first of all, that this is a bad situation he's got to learn to live with. But let's look at it. Mark chapter 10, beginning at verse 46. Then Jesus came to the town of Jericho. As Jesus was leaving there with his followers and a great many people, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, was sitting by the road. Okay, here's the introduction. Bartimaeus, he's blind. Okay, now that's a bad situation, right? Now, most of us are going to think, especially given the time frame that he lived in, that's a bad situation that he's going to have to learn to live with. Let's read on. Not so. Okay? But when he heard that Jesus from Nazareth was walking by, he began to shout, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many people warned the blind man to be quiet. But he shouted even more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Tell the man to come here." So they called the blind man, saying, "Cheer up! Get to your feet! Jesus is calling you!" The blind man jumped up, left his coat there, and went to Jesus. Jesus asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man answered, "Teacher, I want to see." Jesus said, "Go. You are healed because you believed." At once, the man could see, and he followed Jesus on the road. Here was a situation, a bad situation, but he knew something that no one else knew, or at least no one else had enough faith in. He knew that there was a way out, and he knew who it was. See, it says when he heard that Jesus of Nazareth was walking by, he began to shout. The first thing that we need to do to make the best of a bad situation is we need to accept responsibility. Now, I'm not talking about responsibility for the situation. Now, it may be that. Okay? Now, in this situation, this blind man, I'm going to assume that it was not his fault he was blind. It may have been. I don't know. We don't know that. But there are some bad situations that we get ourselves in. You know, have you ever seen the bumper sticker, "Lord, lead me not into temptation. I can get there on my own"? Yeah, some of us do that. We don't need to be led into temptation. We walk right through it. Those are bad situations we get ourselves in. And we need to accept responsibility for those. But what I'm talking about primarily here is that we need to accept responsibility for getting ourselves out. We don't need to sit back and wait for someone else to do it for us. You know, this man, he heard that Jesus was coming by. And he started shouting, "Jesus! Jesus, Son of David, let me talk to you." They kept saying, "No, don't, shut up!" And he kept hollering at him. He knew that if he was going to talk to Jesus, it was up to him. It was up to him to take action. Whatever it is in our life, you know, in dealing with alcoholism and drug addicts and other things such as that, the first thing that we have to recognize, the first thing in this 12-step program is what? "Hello, my name is Jim and I'm an alcoholic." That's primary. That is important. We need to accept responsibility. We need to recognize our problem and recognize that we are the way to get out of it. That we've got to take the steps. We don't wait. We're going to get to that in a minute too. So we accept responsibility. Let's move on. Then Jesus said, "What do you want me to do for you?" Now, does that sound like a strange question? Blind man, what do you want me to do for you? We need to clarify what it is we need. Clarify what you need. You know, Jesus wants to know, what is it this guy wants? What is it this guy wants? Don't just assume that because he's blind he wants to see. You know, he might want a good meal. He might want something else. Sometimes we find ourselves staying in bad situations. Listen to me. because we want to. Because we want to. Okay? And I may talk about some delicate issues this morning. But I think these are things that need to be dealt with in life and in the church too, because some of these are problems that even happen among Christians. Why do most battered women stay in bad situations? Because they don't know how to get out, and they're afraid to get out. They don't know how to identify what they need. So Jesus asks simply, what do you need? What do you want me to do? He wanted this man to state. He wanted this man to tell him, to clarify to him what he wanted. And then he said, "Teacher, I want to see." Now with this, and I think we see from this whole story, that from this we can see that this man believed that Jesus could give him sight. So for us, we have got to believe that we can change. I have counseled with people, and I know you have known people yourself. I have counseled with people over and over with various problems in their life, various addictions, various things going on in their life. And one of the saddest things is to hear them say, "I just don't know if I can change. I don't know if I can beat this problem." One of the things that I tell them is that by yourself you can't. But with Jesus Christ, you can. With Jesus Christ you can, but you've got to believe that you can through His help and through His strength. We've got to believe. Jesus clarifies later, He said, He said, "Go at once, you are healed." Why? Because you believed. You're healed. Why? Because you believed. You can overcome this problem, and you will overcome it. Why? Because you believed. Not just in yourself, but in your God, in your Savior. But let me emphasize something. There has got to be an element of faith in self. Okay? There has got to be some trust in yourself too. Trust God. Trust Jesus Christ. No, they're going to get you through it. But know also that you can do it. I tell you, the last couple months, my wife has reminded me constantly of a passage of Scripture that I have quoted, that I have preached over and over and over and over again. And I have come to just wanting to put my hands over my ears like a child, when she quotes it. When she says, "God is faithful and will not tempt you above what you are able to bear." And that's a tough one. That is a tough one. But you know what? Like it or not, it's true. And when we're being put through the fire, when we're in the middle of that bad situation, that's the time when that verse is the hardest to hear, the hardest to believe, but the absolute most necessary. As Jesus was leaving, and realize I'm taking a lot of these verses out of order because I'm trying to get the steps in order as as I think they apply to this plan. Okay? As Jesus was leaving, this verse 46, there with his followers, a great many people. Stop waiting. There's a lot of people around. It would have been easy for Bartimaeus to say, you know what? I'll wait till there's less people. I'll wait till there's less of a crowd. You know, Jesus just isn't going to be interested in me. You know, with all this crowd around, how am I even going to get close? That would have been easy to do. Let's put it off. Let's wait. You know, I don't know about you, but I often have a problem with procrastination. And sometimes my biggest problem of procrastination is with things that I need to do with myself. You know, we think of the song from Annie, Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It says, tomorrow, you're only a day away. But there's a flip side to that. Tomorrow is always a day away. Tomorrow is always. If you're waiting to help yourself, if you're waiting to get out of a bad situation and you're going to do it tomorrow, tomorrow is not only a day away. It's always a day away. It's always a day away. In other words, tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never comes. Stop waiting. Many people warned the blind man to be quiet. Peer pressure. We think that's for teens, don't we? That's for teens, for young people. They're the ones that experience peer pressure. Yeah? You ever see one neighbor buy a new car, and 3 days later, there's a new car sitting in the next driveway? One neighbor buys a boat, 3 days later, there's another boat down the street. Am I right? Yeah. And what is that? That's peer pressure. Us old people have it too. And it's not just in things. It's in lifestyle. It's in the way we live. It's in those that we surround ourselves with. We can let people stop us from overcoming the bad situation that we have. You see, they can convince us of all kinds of things. They can tell us, number one, you can't do it. They can tell us, well, you know, you can do that later. Enjoy it right now. You're young. And you know, young is a relative term. You know, it's a relative term. You know, but enjoy it while you can. Enjoy life. All kinds of things that the world tells us, that peer pressure tells us. But you know what? If peers are in the same bad situation that we are in, or worse, do you think they want to see us get out of it? Have you ever heard the phrase, misery loves company? A lot of truth to that, my friend. A lot of truth. Misery loves company and wants to keep you miserable. Now here's one. The blind man left his coat there and went to Jesus. Don't let anything hold you back. I don't know if it was wintertime and this was a heavy coat. I don't know if it was just a wrap. I don't know what it was. But it was something that was an encumbrance to him. And he got rid of it. Because it prevented him from getting to Jesus as quickly as he wanted to. You know, there are things in our lives that will hold us back, that will keep us from getting out of situations that we need to get out of. You know, maybe it's friends, acquaintances. Maybe it's habits. Maybe it's jobs. Maybe it's addictions to spending. Yeah, that's an addiction too. I've been doing a lot of studying lately on addictions. And there's a lot of them. And spending is right up there. Probably one of the biggest addictions in America today. And one that's the least dealt with. Anything that stands between you and God, between you and a right relationship with Jesus Christ, is something that will hold you back and keep you from being all that God wants you to be and needs you to be. Don't let anything hold you back. Again in verse 50, the blind man jumped up. He jumped up and he went to Jesus. And this, I guess, is the most important step. And that is, as the Nike commercial says, and our younger, we know what that is, don't we? Just do it. Do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till it's convenient. You know, sometimes we just keep waiting. We keep saying, well, you know, maybe later. What if Bartimaeus had said, well, too much of a crowd. They're telling me to be quiet, so maybe I better be quiet. You know, I guess I'm really stuck being blind because they haven't invented any kind of eye surgery yet. So I guess I'm just going to learn to live with my bad situation. What if Bartimaeus had thought like that? You want to know what would have happened? He would still have been blind. But because he didn't think like that, because he knew the power of Jesus Christ to change his life, because he knew that Jesus Christ could make a difference, he left that day being able to see. And brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. The same Jesus that can restore sight to the blind, that can heal the lame that can't walk, that can walk up and say, rise up and walk, pick up your bed and walk. That same Jesus can change your life. the same way He changed the life of Bartimaeus. If only you. Notice I said, only you. Because I can't do it for you. Your husband can't do it for you. Your wife can't do it for you. Your mom can't do it for you. Your dad can't do it for you. Your kids can't do it for you. No one else can do it for you. But you have to do it for yourself. But if only you will trust Jesus, come to Him, say, Lord, I give you my life. I accept you as my Savior. I turn away from my sins. And then you ask to be buried in that watery grave of baptism, just as Jesus Christ was buried after He was crucified. Then you rise up from that grave as a new creature, a child of God, starting over. As a Christian, you may be here this morning as a Christian, but there's still, maybe you're really in the middle of a bad situation right now. You know, it does still happen. But again, only you can make the decision to change. Only you can make the decision to trust God. Only you. We're here to pray for you. We're here to encourage you. We're here to do anything that we can to help you. But only you can make that decision. Will you make it now?